Well, hello there, back in my BMW little workshop. I've got an interesting project going on, and that is uh, correcting the dimensions of my frame. Scouring the internet, I have found precisely one poorly scanned document about the actual frame sizes needed, and I have transferred it into a CAD system. So this is computer drawn now, and that means that I could also pick up some other measures. Now, what's happened through the history of my 90/6 is that it has twice been in an accident. It originally was the metallic green by the first owner, and he got an accident with permanent damage to his leg. The bike was repaired, was sold, and later obviously a second accident because there was something that he didn't know about. I've talked with him, I've met him, he's seen the bike. And the bike was made black after that, so bigger things has happened with it. When I got the bike, it was very obvious that there was something wrong because here I could fit maybe my little finger between the engine and the frame, and here 2 fingers sideways like that. So it was clear there was something wrong, and I went measuring and doing things, and it was obvious that this had been pushed backwards. So I did something to get everything straight already 2-3 years ago. But all the time I noticed that my tank was sitting low and the whole bike was a little bit sagged. Now that I got these measurements, I found out that actually the whole bottom part of the frame had been shifted backwards. So the frame, instead of being roughly like this, was more like this. And that results in that the auxiliary frame at the rear, from these points, if this goes more like that, this goes up and your wheel goes up, and yeah, that gives you the whole sagged view. And one more thing that happened with it is also because this was sitting low then, I had some damage. I'll show you. So here on the starter cover you can see a round hole, and that is from the petcock on the left side from the tank. And when you compare this to all, or it's the clamp around the fuel line. And when you compare this to pictures everywhere on the internet, that's supposed to sit well above the emblem here. So that's a clear sign that the frame was also too low. Now, after a lot of complicating and measuring and stuff, I simply wound up with 2 big pieces of wood. This is like a 4-inch and this is maybe 5 times 6 inch in centimeters, so that would be 10, and this is 12 by 15. The wood nicely follows originally a little bit the frame, but because it is soft it will mold itself, and put, I think this is 10-ton hydraulic jack in between. The bands here are in order to make sure that I don't stretch things worse in the direction that I don't want to. And actually it seems they have loosened up quite a lot after the operation, so that has worked. The operation is done now. I'm still doing some check measurings, quite a lot, but it should be now that the following sizes are much closer to what I think they should be, based on the drawings that I made and the measures that I made myself. So let me show you some of them. So one of the sizes that really shows how much the frame is skewed is from the front engine bolt to the upper bolt of the subframe on the rear, and according to all my measurements it should be like 586, and I'm now actually a little bit over. It's almost 592, but that's a lot better than it was because it originally was too short. Another one is from the rear bolt, should be 490. That was also shorter than it's supposed to be. This is 490 now. So there's something that this may be too low now a little bit, and there's also a bend here between the motor bolts. I'm not sure where that came from. Now, one thing it's hard to measure now because there is this whole jack still in place is the distance from the rear motor bolt to the end of the main tube of the frame. That should be something like 453, and let's see if I can gauge that roughly. I need to subtract something like 6 centimeters, so that would be 393, and well, just eyeballing it now, I would need to take the jack and everything out, so that takes some time. But I would say it's not far away from that. And it used to be like at least a centimeter lower. And that's something I can check also here on the mark that I put. That used to be 406 millimeters, and yeah, really hard to eyeball. I need to take the jack out to check that. One measurement which is important also to make sure that the engine output to the shaft is correct is this, which is supposed to be 480 millimeters, and for this I made this support frame. So here from the front and rear motor bolts on both sides, right on top of the bolt there's a piece that goes to the other side. I dismounted already the other, and then here there's a hole that should be right in the middle of the rear swing arm bearings, and I can check whether it is, taking into account that I had something like 2-3 centimeters off. I would say that looks right smack in the middle. Maybe a millimeter too far to the rear, but the height is correct. A little bit bad lighting here. Well, now you can see this better. That goes really nice. Let's see through the both of the holes. That would be even a clearer view. Quite hard to get the light where I want it, but this is my right side bearing, left side bearing, and there's the little hole in the measuring support frame, so that should be okay. One result of the sagging frame is also that if this is here too low, then the wheel is too low, too high, it was high, then the wheel is too high, and I couldn't get the axle out of the rear wheel without removing first my muffler. And according to the drawing, it should be 85 millimeters from the bottom of the rear bolt to the center of the engine bolt line. And if I try to eyeball that, it's about 80 millimeters. So that should, no, this is not a correct perspective, but there's still a lot that could be better, but I'm not sure. Probably what has happened is that this bend here and the bend here on top, they are not exactly as they should be, and this piece has turned a little bit too low. But that can be adjusted since I got these stainless mufflers with separate mounting pieces. I could always make this hole a little bit higher, and that should be not the biggest of all problems. So yeah, next thing, take the jack out and take the center measurement for the height of the tank. Right, so release the jack. See that nothing falls here. Pro tip, use something between the jack and your boot, because the top of the jack is far too small. It would dig into the wood, and maybe you can see it here that actually the wood is soft enough that it automatically shapes according to the frame. So just having this a little bit cut in shape was good enough to make it easy on the frame, so there's no flat pipes here or so. Okay, this is just a knot keeping the jack a little bit up. Jack away. Front wooden piece. Here I put, simply with 2 nails, a little piece of board, also to keep the jack from falling off, which made it possible to do this single-handed. And also here, I'm not sure if that will be visible, but there's clear signs that the wood has yielded in order to accommodate for the shape of the piping. So the pipes are not flattened. They're bent, but they're not flattened. Now I can check also a little bit if they seem to be in line, and I can tell you here in this bend they are not in line, and that is simply due to the old damage that has been there. It seems that the right front, I'll show it clearer. Here the right front, it has already bad dents from the earlier accidents. So this is a bit sharper than here on the left side. So that's probably again due to the second accident where the frame went really skewed, that the right side was more to the back than the left. It's something I might want to check now also, that how square it is. On the drawings, the center line for all forward rearward measurements is made according to a point that is related to the rear of the main pipe under the tank, so the main tube. So in order to reach that point, I've made a little clamp that can be shifted right into the tube on the bottom. Push all the way forward, and then a little hole right on top of the rear motor bolt. This is still here. I think I can take it away soon, but I won't yet. So now this yellow wire should be my perfect square vertical to everything, and I can measure some things front to rear. So whereas the tank originally set like a centimeter or so too low, if I measure this now, I may be 2 or 3 millimeters too high. I'll take that any day. One of the measurements is from the vertical mounts of the battery holder to this vertical line. It should be 213 and I measure now 211 to 12, so I'm only 2 millimeters off. And yeah, it's actually not clear if that's to the outside or the inside of the holder, so I may be 3 millimeters off, but that's it. I'll take that. One very important measure is of course from this vertical line rear motor bolt to the center line of the rear swing arm bearing. It should be 196.5. Let's see if we can see through. That's 20 there. That's 19. Now if I try to get my vertical line as straight as can be, then I'm getting up to, don't pull, it's maybe a little bit too small, but we're talking again within the 3 millimeters. Much better than centimeters that we had. So, all in all, I think I didn't do a bad job with these simple tools. So, from here to here, motor bolts to rear swing arm is okay. The height up to the tank is better than it was. This bolt has definitely moved backwards a bit, which would mean that the whole subframe is turning down and it shouldn't be that much a sagging bike. So the only thing that I'm not sure about is the exhaust support in relation to the motor bolts, and there's still here this little upward bend that shouldn't be there, but I'm very reluctant doing anything with that since these 3 points line up so nicely on both sides. Better just do something here with the support bracket. That would be much easier if it's a problem. So that said, I think I'm rather happy. I'll just take a few square measures still here in order to make sure that also the skewing of the frame in the longitudinal direction is history. That's it. Bye bye.